Welcome to this week's episode of L.I.F.T.S. We're live from beyond Activ in Saudi Arabia.
I'm excited to be here, Matthew. We're dealing with a little bit of jet lag. Our aura rings are hitting us right now.
Yeah, I'm still in the sort of low 40s, I think. So I'm hoping tonight I'll get a good sleep. But it's been a worthwhile, very, very tough few days, but not at all what I expected, but in a positive way.
I think we've had a great lineup of guests who are on. We've learned a lot about what the region is about. It is, I think, experiencing explosive growth, which a lot of people could really learn from. And it's transformed the way I think about business, fitness, and wellness in the region, which is very different from the perspective that we come from.
It's certainly something that when I go back, we're going to adjust it in terms of our company priorities. But I think the biggest takeaway, which I'm hoping for anyone that's listening will, as they evaluate the market, will also get this. But it's really, I think out of any market around the world, there's a huge amount of growth and opportunity. But it's really figuring out how to navigate that, how to enter, how to partner, where to focus. And I think that's the big takeaway for me is it certainly wouldn't have been how I'd approached entering this market if I hadn't have come here this week.
And I think that's a great point. And so much of the strategies that we know that have worked in a lot of the countries and even international markets that we've gone into have to really be adjusted to fit the market here. But if you could do that, and if you could adjust your product, which I think the listeners will understand better after they go through the episode, the opportunity here, to your point, you've got really three main pillars. You've got a public entity that is investing in local and in a national stage into the category. You've got the private sector that is innovating and also investing and building and scaling. And then you've got the public consumer and just the people of the nation who want to do better, who want to lead healthier lives. So when you have all three of those pieces working together, amazing things happen. And I think we are at the start of that now.
We've really got high caliber guests on this week's podcast, and it's the first time I think we've traveled so far around the world to do this. So all I would ask is if you get one thing from this interview, from this episode, then please just share it with one person, because the more people that get to hear about it, the more likely that we're going to be able to continue these. So please enjoy this week's episode of the L.I.F.T.S. podcast.
Well, we have a famous influencer, Abdul Masoom, who is working with Delta Fitness as a brand ambassador. Thank you so much, Abdul, for joining L.I.F.T.S.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, Mohammed. Thank you, Matthew. Appreciate it.
So, brand ambassador, tell us a little bit about what that involves and also how you're using social media here. You've been in the US for many years studying.
That's right.
What's happening here? How does it compare to what's going on in the US? Give us a little bit of an overview of what you're seeing now.
All right. So I've started creating and promoting health and wealth and fitness, creating content about rising awareness about health and fitness, creating content what to do exactly, how to start changing your life, how to start your journey. So since 2015, back in the US, I start creating these contents when I go to the gym, when I go to the supermarket, telling the people and advising the people what to do exactly. And then when I came back to Saudi in 2019, I'm not gonna say like really shocked, but it was a huge difference, a huge jump between when I was back in the years and how it goes now, right now, in terms of the fitness industry. And actually, not only the fitness industry, in other elements, in other areas, it's improving in the whole country. That's because of our leader and the vision of 2020 and 30 Saudi vision. That tells you what the country is going. So it has to be a different and a huge develop in the fitness industry. And that's what we see right now. Back in the days when I used to go to the gym, we barely have one gym or like a fitness facility. But right now you see around you a lot of fitness gyms, a lot of fitness facilities, and also the instructors and also the people in Saudi, their knowledge, it's updated. Their knowledge, it's not as before. People are learning. People know like the benefits of going to workout is not just like to get the six pack and look good, but the thing is about my health, my wellness, my mental. So it's all about tell the people what to do exactly at the gym and all that kind of good stuff for the people. So for me, my job and my responsibility to try as much as I can to increase the percentage of people who don't work out to start working out. That's one of the goals from the country. And being part of being ambassador of Delta Fitness, it helped me also to create that content and improve my content actually.
What's important for young people today within the region?
For the young people these days, or for what I see, it's let them be active more, because with all these technology, they are not like that much active. So people like me, it's our job and responsibility to teach them how to be active. At the same time, give them something not boring, like give them type of exercise and program that's fun at the same time, and it makes them active and work out.
We've been hearing a lot about Vision 2030, and I think that's wonderful that you've got this national initiative that everyone talks about. The whole country talks about, private sector, public sector, the people are all talking about it. You also talked about when you left for the States and then you came back, I think it sounds like you were there for about 4 years, and then you came back, that you saw a transformation. In just 4 years, you saw a major transformation. That's incredible to see that kind of change from a country perspective. If you could speak about, health and fitness as it relates to the topic that we're talking about, what were some of the biggest transformational changes that you saw?
A huge transformation in the fitness industry. As the Ministry of Sport has mentioned, we host 85 world events, sport events, big events. And as everybody know, the World Cup 2034 going to be in Saudi. So Saudi Arabia earned that to host and show the world that they are eligible and they can do it and really can host these big events. And for us, the Saudis people, we cannot really in one day you will hear about this big event. Another day, a week after, the expo gonna be in Riyadh. It's the transformation. It's really fast. Technology around the world is fast. The transformation in Saudi, it's faster. What's going on around in Saudi Arabia is really fast, and that's only in the fitness fitness industry, in all other areas. Also in what's going on with Riyadh season. I'm inviting everybody to come to Riyadh season and see what's going on.
What is Riyadh season?
Riyadh season, it's the big time. What's going on? It's from the Ministry of Entertainment, with the Turkey Al Sheikh, what's going on in the entertainment industry too. So what's going on also with the boxing industry. Boxing industry was almost dying, but because of what's going on with Riyadh season, this big cards, it's never been around the world a big card like this. You will never seen a heavyweight title having a bout of, or this big card between, you will see Tyson Fury versus Usyk. Both of these fighters have never been lost. They never lost a fight before. So you're having a huge show on Riyadh season. No one around the world have tried to brought both of these fighters, but in Riyadh, everything is possible with big time.
As you're talking about some of the changes, so those are more higher level kind of events that are happening. What about transformation that you saw culturally? And we, earlier we're talking about women being able to work out and music being played in clubs. What are some of the things that you've seen at that level that have changed over the last few years?
By numbers, 2 weeks ago, we held the Kingdom Cup of the Boxing Federation. We had 60 fighters, 60 female fighters in our competition and 85 male in our competition, the Kingdom Cup. So, and also we have in the Olympic side, that tells you we have champions who won gold medals around the world in judo and karate and weightlifting and all these kind of sports. That tells you that the percentage of female who are practicing and working out, it's increased. If you don't have that increase, we will not have the outcome. What is the outcome? The outcome is getting the medals around the world in different sports. So that tells you there's an increase in the percentage of the female who are working out and exercising.
You're talking about social media. What if for brands that are looking to come into the region or already here and wanted to build things up and working with brand ambassadors like you, what are some of the key platforms, and what are, whether it's podcasting, YouTube? Give us a bit of a flavor of what's happening on that sort of space, and some of the things that maybe are worth sharing that you may not have seen in the US, but are taking off here.
In terms of brand, want to get into the industry to create content. First of all, you have to know your audience, which age of group your audience at. Because, for example, if you are looking for the age of groups are, let's say, 30 and above, or 25 and 30 and 40 and above, you will go to X, which is Twitter. You will go to that platform. You're not gonna go, if you are targeting that age of group, you're not gonna go to TikTok. You're not gonna go to that platform. However, if you wanna do like in general, you wanna target all age groups, you will go to all platforms, which is in Saudi Arabia, you will go with Snapchat, and then X, which is Twitter, and then you will go TikTok, and then the rest follow on, which is Instagram and on YouTube and other platforms. However, it has to, if you are doing a campaign, even if it's like fitness or another industry, it has to touch the culture in a good way, in a positive way. So the thing is, look for someone, I'm not promoting myself, but look for someone from that country to promote your brand. Mix it with the culture and what's going on in the culture, and something trendy, and promote your services or your products. And as much as this is really important advice for the people who's coming from outside to promote their items and services here, try to build a trust relationship between you and the clients, because the Saudis, they don't like to get the job, to get the deal really quick. They will say hi, hello, and then introduce yourself, and then they will invite you to eat kabsa. Or they will invite you. They like to break the ice more and more. They like to build a relationship, and then they trust you, and then they buy from you. Yes.
Yeah, something that I've learned is, when you look at fitness, we say it's 80% nutrition, 20% training. In Saudi for business, it's 80% relationship. And really having the bond, 20% business.
Definitely, yeah.
Right, which
I
is
agree,
right.
100%.
So final question then, look, I think it's interesting to see and to learn from people like yourselves. I think what trends, because we've had a few conversations about, you guys are not necessarily following trends, although you're observing them, you're also creating your own trends within the region for where your market is and the uniqueness of it. What trends would you say from a fitness perspective are you seeing emerging, and things that you're sort of trying to stay in touch with as the market evolves?
Yeah, so one of the main trends is go with the technology, and what's the technology drives you, go with it, because a lot of people are looking for that kind of trends. So what goes with the technology, people will follow on it. What makes the people really relate to that trends, the people will go and buy for it. People will follow that trends, as long as they fall emotion for it, as long as it's touched their culture, they will follow it. Yeah.
Fantastic.
One more question, I guess, if people can find you, I think it's really interesting. What are the best ways for people to find you online?
All right, so all the platforms, you just put MG Healthy or Coach Abdul Mohsin, you will find me, and my pleasure to have everybody. All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you
very
for
much
having
for
me.
your time.
Pleasure.
Thanks.
Welcome, Abbas Almas. You are the Senior Director, I don't want to mess this up, the Senior Director of Marketing, Sales, and Business Development at Kuhn Sports.
That is correct, yes.
So were you the guy who was behind the flowers and the tea and everything as we came to see the gym yesterday?
Yes, that was me.
Very nice touch.
Oh, thank you. I mean, look, we were very honored to have you all come and see a tour of one of our gyms. We just wanted to leave a lasting impression. That was the first one why we thought about it. Not that the gym wasn't going to do it by itself, but as well, it's part of our culture. You know, we always welcome people into this country, into our homes. It's embedded in our DNA, the hospitality part of it. So we were very blessed to have everyone to come into our gyms from all over the world, and it's been a great 2 days so far.
So, a question I wanted to ask you is how has this event and the experience yesterday changed from what you would typically see in the region maybe 10 to 20 years ago?
Oh, massively. I mean, I'll just focus on Saudi and why, because we've been to certain other events in the region itself, but this event today has been by far exceeded our expectations with regards to the organization, with regards to the different cultures that have come into Saudi, into Riyadh specifically for this event. It's just seeing all these leaders within the industry and some as well outside the industry have shown genuine interest into our industry. I'm using the industry word a lot, but it is what it is. So yeah, it's been fantastic in the sense that there's been exchange of ideas, exchange of knowledge, finding what other competitors, what other people are doing in the industry has been really helpful for us. And it's also our story in itself, Kuhn Sports' story, and when we narrate it to the people and they see how far we've come in 2 years, has been delightful for us.
Right. What would you say it's like from being on the inside, looking out in terms of the region, how that's evolved and changed during that period?
Being a very avid enthusiast of fitness myself, 10 years, 15 years ago, the mentality was you'd go to a gym, you wouldn't know what to do. You just wanted to be big. You just wanted to be fit. But how much the industry and the mindset has evolved ever since. Now people understand nutrition. People understand fitness and its goals. It's not just the physical aspect. It's the mental aspect. It's the emotional aspect that comes into it. And I think the landscape in the region has evolved massively with regards to understanding how much fitness is important. That was one part of it. The other part of it that we are really blessed in Saudi Arabia is the government and how much they have put in onus on getting everyone in Saudi Arabia active. So one key pillar of the 2030 vision is to get Saudi people very much active. And the government has invested a lot with regards to the infrastructure, and they're continuing to invest. I mean, you've gone around Riyadh, you've seen the developments that are taking place. The government's putting around cycle tracks, walking tracks, running tracks, and even the gyms within the communities, which are in the public parks. So yes, we've come a long way, and there's still a longer way to go, but we're going to get there.
And looking at Vision 2030, I know you mentioned that briefly and the role that plays. Why don't you just for the audience, talk about why that's so important, where Saudi Arabia is today, where it has been, and what the plan of the vision is. And because I think it's very ambitious, but you've made a lot of progress already.
Absolutely right. So let's take, for example, the activity part. You know, the metric that was put as part of getting us being active at 2030, we've achieved it last year. So the government had gone back, revised that metric, and now there's...
Made it more difficult.
No, not more difficult, more active. I mean, it's at the end of the day, whatever it's been put in place is for the betterment of the public.
Right.
You know, going to the first part of the question, where it was and where we are today, it's a massive difference. So let's, for example, 10 years ago, you would not see people actively seeking to be in fitness. The infrastructure was not there. You would have certain big name brands in certain areas or certain cities of the kingdom, but not in everywhere. But today you have many major brands locally. We are very proud being one of them. And there are other brands internationally that want to come into the market. And that just tells you how much the market has evolved. with regards to the understanding of people and with regards to the competition and the landscape itself. So we've come a long way. With regards to how ambitious we are, we're very ambitious people. We're led by a very strong leader, is Crown Prince, Royal Highness the Crown Prince, and we just follow his steps. He's laid out the blueprint for us, and it's up to us now to just capitalize on that and reach that goal that's been laid up for us.
I think for people who haven't been here, I was born in this region. I was born in Dubai in 1980, and I've come to Saudi Arabia just a couple of times in that time. But I think even being from the region, having family here, it's hard for people internationally to understand how much has really changed. I mean, Matthew, you talked about 15, 20 years ago. People really didn't even know what a gym was. Like, you wouldn't even find the gym you wouldn't know where to go to find a gym, right? Working out was really playing soccer or football, right? Outside, and even schools kind of had limited physical activity, but now this completely transformed. Not only, we were driving around yesterday, we just saw gym after gym after gym after gym. I mean, maybe we're on a gym route, that's number one. But then you look at little things. When I came into Kuhn yesterday, music was playing, right? And that might seem normal to us being in the West, but that's a new development here. And culturally, that's a big shift that a population had to take on. You saw women work. We as we were walking to the club, I think we saw 10 women coming out of the gym. That's something that is also new, because I think there's these big transformational cultural changes that as a people and government and private, all of these entities are doing it together, and it's not easy.
That is true. It's not easy. And to the point of women being more engaged, you will be surprised at the number of women now taking on powerlifting, taking on, or just understanding that it's no longer if I go lift weights, I'm going to get bulky and manly. That was the idea or the ideology like 20 years ago. That was the mindset. But now, with the education, with the backing of the government, with the knowledge that's been transferred through social media and different other outlets, women have now understood that, if I lift heavy weights, I'm just going to get fitter. I'm not going to become bulkier or any of that. To come to the point where even with regards to the atmosphere, the music, yes, it's changed now. Music is, it's played in all our gyms, across all our gyms. The music is there. There are some concerts happening right here.
I heard about
Riyadh.
that.
Yes, there are concerts happening in Jeddah. We're bringing in international stars to come and do all their concerts here, and it's become the favorite part of the region for even all these A-listers to come and do their concerts here. So yes, the shift has been huge, and we're very excited about it. Yeah.
So what's the future for Kuhn Fitness then? Like, looks like you're at the beginning of a huge wave.
Yeah.
You already had some fantastic success and achievements to date. So what's next as part of your vision?
So if you allow me, I'll narrate our story, because and we purposely did not put our name out for the past 2 years. So we started in 2019. The company Kuhn Sports was established in 2019. We opened our first gym after COVID. We had one gym in Jeddah. That started 2021. Today, we have 42 operational gyms across Saudi Arabia.
Are they all owned?
They're all owned by us. And we have another 16 under construction. So come mid of the year, we're going to be 58 across the kingdom. The goal is to hit 80 by end of the year. So that's twice as much as we have right now. For the past 2 years, we've been working in silence. We've been developing all our gyms. We've been standardizing our processes. We've understood the market. We found the secret sauce, as they say. We've built our tech platforms, because we found out that with tech, it will only drive our business to where we need it to be. We've mastered our quality when it comes to customer service. The example was yesterday. When you walked in, all the member services team were there to greet you, to just make you feel like you were part of this community, even though it was your first time into the gym. So the goals for us is 80 end of this year. And then the next milestone is going to be next year. We're targeting IPO. It's no secret. That's where we're going with it. And we're going to get there.
And what's the purpose behind wanting to go IPO?
Because the market is there for it. We want people as well, or investors, to have a portion of this. With the IPO, it will only allow us to even grow further. Yes, at the moment, it's all owned by us. We operate all our gyms. It's all single owned by Kuhn Sports. But then opening it IPO, it allows us to even build out different verticals. The more investments you're going to get, the more backing you get, you can then take it to the next level, which is go regional. And that's the whole purpose of it.
I mean, you kind of talked about the cultural changes happening with music, with women working out, but how, being in your role in marketing and business development and in sales, how do you get people to come into the gym? How do you get people to make fitness, as it is a core part of your life, but how do you make that, but that's not true for most people in Saudi.
True.
How do you get them to understand and say, by coming in here, by being a member, of our gyms, you will be better tomorrow than you are today? That's a big step to take.
That's true. So we identified who our customers are. Yes, we are a high value, low cost gym. And the purpose why we are is because we want to be a gym for everyone. Whether you're a rookie, it's your first time you're coming into a gym. Whether you're a senior citizen, you're coming because the doctor told you to go and practice because of your diabetes or whatever it is. Whether you're a very busy businessman, you have just 1 hour of your day, yes, you can come to my gym. There's going to be a PT guy waiting for you just to get you for 60 minutes. Mm-hmm. You hit your workout and you go out. So we've understood who we want to market to and how we tap into these people. We are very customized in our messages. So we don't just plaster a big message and say, this is a gym, this is the offer, come and join us. No, for us, it's all about going directly to them. One simple example is if there's an event that regards CrossFitters, then our message is tailored to CrossFitters. If there's a message for marathon, because there's going to be a marathon in Jeddah, we're targeting those runners and endurance athletes. And this is how we've been successful in our marketing. We don't just white label a message and just spread it across uniformly to everyone.
Well, thank you very much for your hospitality yesterday.
Our pleasure.
We're looking forward to coming back next year to see about 40 more locations.
Next year, you're probably going to take it to branch number 100.
Right.
That's the plan.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you guys for hosting me. It's been a pleasure. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Thank you, Abbas.
Thank you.
Ross Campbell, founder and CEO of Beyond Activ. Thank you so much for hosting us, putting on this incredible event here at Beyond Activ. It's the first time Beyond Activ has been in the KSA. The feedback I've been getting has just been phenomenal. So congrats.
Thanks, gents. And look, pleasure to have a conversation with you. Big fans of the podcast, big fans of Escape Fitness, big fans of Sweatworks. So the pleasure is mine.
Well, tell us a little bit about what gave you the idea initially to come to Saudi, because it's, I guess, there's many places around the world to do what you guys are doing, and this isn't your first event. You've been here for a while. So what originally gave you guys the idea to come and do what you're doing here?
Yeah, look, we look for opportunities for solution providers to come into a marketplace and meet operators. Inside the Kingdom and the wider GCC marketplace, we see multi-sector growth across different segments: hospitality, fitness, health, wellness, and sports. Now, that community of buyers and sellers rarely meets in this kind of marketplace. And so for us, we're looking for an untapped marketplace that has international growth, local growth in terms of industry, but also government support. All of those boxes are ticked by the Saudi Arabian marketplace. So very excited to be here. It was an obvious choice to us, maybe not to others, but ask me that question in 5 years' time, and I'm sure it'll be a very obvious answer.
One of the things that really took me back, I've for 25 plus years, I've been involved in the industry. I've been to most of the major events by now, and this event is particularly unique. And I'm not saying this because we're sitting around the table here, but just the caliber of people is absolutely phenomenal. And I was just wondering, how do you get these people in one room at an event like this?
Yeah, it's a great question. Look, why do you leave your house? Why do you leave your office? We have to come up with an experience where our customers are exceptionally happy with kind of 4 pillars. One is CEO level networking and communication, so peer-to-peer basis. We have to, the quality of the delegate is so important to us. We get that by content and thought leadership at the highest possible level. So really high detailed investment in business content. We have unparalleled networking, so you can come and network with your peer groups. We have entertainment. And then, of course, we also try and structure meetings and arrangements. So to try and get executives out here, we realize that time is critical. It's irreplaceable. And again, for me to travel all the way from the States, gentlemen, it's just we've got to justify that to ourselves and to you. So high-level connections, high-level content, entertainment, fun, and to make sure it's worth a trip. That's how we do it.
And I think putting on an event like this in the region, I mean, you talked about people are saying, why Riyadh, why Saudi, when the typical choice would be Dubai or even Abu Dhabi, or everyone kind of goes there. But I think there are complexities that people don't realize and what it means to put on an event here. So, I'm not from Saudi, but I was born in the region and I spent a lot of time in the region. And I noticed the little touches that you put in, and I just want to call those out. I think one, you allow time for prayer, which I think is something that events that I've been to in Dubai don't even really consider that, right? They don't even really put that there. But that kind of thoughtfulness and attention to culture is so important because it shows that you have the respect and that you are paying attention to this market that you're coming into. And I'm going to have a follow-up into that question. But then even your thought into the food, where people are talking about the healthy food that you have here, the networking spaces, all that, I think just goes to show to how much you've kind of given. So I just want to give you, kudos for doing that and thank you for doing that. My follow-up question though is, as brands are thinking about coming here, doing what you're doing, it's not so easy to just take a brand that might work in Dubai or the West and transplant it right on top of the kingdom. It just doesn't work that way. Yeah. And one of the biggest takeaways that I've heard, and a common theme that I've heard here, is that you've got to think about the local culture, which is a little bit unique. It is a little bit different, but the opportunity is tremendous. So if you could maybe speak to the audience about, you put on an event, or you've been doing events, wonderful events for some time, but you thought about the region a little bit differently. What was some of the thought that you kind of put in when you decided to bring an event here?
Yeah, I mean, and great point. Like, I think we have to focus with the end in mind. The end in mind is the consumer, and the consumer basically drives the culture. So for us coming into the kingdom, we have to appreciate who that consumer is. And that consumer is quite conservative in terms of its makeup. They are very, very proud as a country in terms of where they are. They're very proud of their food, their heritage, their experiences, their history. And so we have to reflect that inside the agenda. We have to champion that in our communications across our network. And of course, you have to celebrate that at the event itself. Just like any other gym chain or hospitality group, we have to provide an experience. How we create that experience, we have to sit down with our team and say, okay, what is the best mix of food, entertainment, value, culture, experience, and then blend that together. And that's how we do an event. In terms of how that translates into the fitness world, I think for any gym chain that comes here with a very off-the-shelf, westernized product and dumps it into the market, there's already been failures. And then we can see that in Asia in the same way, Mo and Matthew, gents, where if it's not culturally right and it's not a culturally fit product, it's not going to succeed. So I don't think it's rocket science. It just takes you to be a little bit more attentive to detail and how you're looking at your product and how it actually delivers value to that consumer, not the consumer of the past, but the consumer you're targeting at that moment in time.
What do you think about the timing? There's clearly a lot happening, and there's a lot already happened. So for people that are thinking about coming here, whether they're on the operator side, the supplier side, and that whole sort of ecosystem, like when, what do you think about timing? If people come in now, are they, really getting in very, very early before it's happening? Is it a case of, coming here and sort of observing what's going on and just waiting for the right time when people have figured out sort of how the market's going to evolve? How would you describe timing for people that are thinking about this as an opportunity?
We have so many clients, they say to us, we'll be there next year. That's fine. I mean, timing might not be right for them, but the reality is that you have to have these relationships early. And I think the speed and ambition of the companies in this region are enormous, and they're fast. And I think for anyone that's not present in the country this year or certainly next year, the relationships you'll lose out on are millions of dollars of future business. We recognize that. We invested in Saudi probably earlier than most companies because we see the long-term value. Be under no doubt, they are going on a rocket ship for the next kind of decade and a half, not just to 2030 with their vision. For the next 10 to 15 to 20 years, Saudi Arabia and the wider GCC marketplace is an absolute goldmine for opportunity and business development. And so if you're not here just now, I would highly suggest you jump out your office, get on a plane, as you have both done, gentlemen, and get here as soon as you can.
In terms of doing business here, is it like ease or difficulty? Like, is it a case of you got to really find some relationships and some partners? And is it very much about partnership in order to do that? Like, how do you sort of navigate the best way to do things? Because speaking to some of the club chains that have come here, as you said, you can't just sort of drop a model into the country and think it's going to work. So is it a case of getting some partners, adapting what you're going to do, or what have you learned in your experience? Because you've actually done it yourselves, really.
Yeah, you have to come here more than once. It's not a silver bullet. You don't just arrive in Riyadh and expect to be giving $1 million contract from the Saudi government. That doesn't happen. You've got to be here, pressing the flesh, making relationships work. You have to understand the marketplace. Who are the winning companies and where are they going? There are some great examples of companies in any market that have been here for a long time, but they're swimming backwards. Who are the companies that are moving forward? Who has got the capital? Who's got the teams? Who's got the ambition? Who's got the product to move forward? For us, I think that only comes by having conversations and relationships on the ground. Those conversations are off-site at some of these events, as you know, and dinners and networking receptions. So I don't think, again, it's not rocket science. It really is about how much you're truly wanting to invest in a market to win that marketplace. We invest, we'll continue to invest. I'll be here again next month on private meetings and private events because I want to be here. I think this is a great market for our company and our business.
One other final question before I let Mo wrap up. You've spent a lot of your time in Asia, and that's also a very explosive, dynamic market. Okay. How do you compare what's going on there to what you're seeing here? Do they compare in any way? Are they totally different? How would you explain that situation?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think for us, I think in the Middle East, what you have, and we look at it as a trilogy, a triangle. The triangle is government support, industry support, and consumer support. And I think if you have all of those really strong and firing, that marketplace is on a rocket ship. I think in Saudi Arabia and the wider GCC, you have industry confidence, government confidence, and consumer confidence. There's money being spent and the market is going forward. I think in that kind of respect, for the rest of the GCC, this is a place to be. I think if you look at Asia and kind of dissect it into different countries, in some countries, I think industry confidence and support isn't quite there as much as what people think it might be. Government, industry and support isn't quite there as where it should be. And even consumer support is a little bit kind of waxy and wavy at times. So Asia has enormous potential, but I do think if you don't have all three sides of that triangle, you're kind of on a growth trajectory that's just stumbling and stuttery. And we saw that across multiple countries in Asia, Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, even Singapore, great nations, great countries. But arguably the growth of their fitness and wellness industry has not really taken off the same extent as the Middle East. And I believe that's the reason. It doesn't have the three sides of the triangle.
And I think you've spoken all about like pressing the flesh, building relationships. And when you think about wellness, in wellness, we say a lot that if you're looking to lose weight, it's really 80% diet, 20% fitness and working out. And when I relate that into what you're talking about and just seeing kind of how you structured it and created this conference and this space, it's really about 20% is your product or service, 80% is relationships. And that might be a higher percentage than we're used to typically in the West. Why is relationships so important? And we'll make that the final question, but why are relationships here, culture so important? I know it's important here because I'm from the region, but talk a bit more about that and how, being here, being present is just critical to do business.
Yeah, I think friendships matter. I think trust matters. And I think sometimes, again, coming from the West myself, I think dealing business, sometimes it's quite transactional. I think you really have to get to know your customer here in the Middle East. And actually, they really want to get to know you. I think what we always forget is that coming from the maybe more mature marketplaces, we do have knowledge and insights and perspective statistics that marketplace doesn't have. And to come in and share those in friendly circumstances over dinner, meeting the family, and other social occasions, that actually is the bond that will gel a relationship going forward. I think in the West, some companies do it to a degree. Maybe it's done through more kind of business entertainment, golfing outs, corporate days out, etc. They are important, but actually here in the Middle East, what we're seeing, as well as Asia, is take time to get to know your customer. Take time to get to know their family, what they're really passionate about, what they do at the weekend. And those are the kind of relationships and connections that really flourish growth.
Well, thank you very much. Really, once again, appreciate you inviting us here and looking forward to the rest of the event.
Thanks, Matthew and Mo. And again, gents, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. And to all the L.I.F.T community, all the very best for 2024.
Shadan Al-Ghari, COO of Leejam Sports. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Matthew. It's a pleasure to be here.
I hear you had a little bit of a first at the event on Monday evening with an event you organised. A good friend of both of ours, Rachel, was telling me about a ladies event that you put on. Would you like to tell us a little bit about what happened on Monday?
Sure. So to give you a bit of background, I started in this industry in 2017. And it was until 2019 that I had the chance to go abroad and meet people within the industry. My first trip was to IRSA, and you know IRSA, it's huge, you meet a lot of people. But it was until I went to Dubai and I met Rachel. And through Rachel, I met groups of women who were there to support each other. So I met incredible ladies in a group called Rise, which looks after women in Europe, women in fitness. And every time I meet someone, I always tell them that in the start, I did not have anyone to go back to. And many times I wanted to just have a phone call and ask, is this right? How can I do this? But I had no one. And when I got introduced to this group, incredible ladies have been in the industry for many, many years. And they just took me with them, and they were very open to having me within. I was telling Rachel, how can we move this to Saudi Arabia? How can we move this to GCC, not only Saudi Arabia? Because I know that we have, women around the world have the same challenges, but we have our unique challenges, things that we would need help and advice. So we were thinking of making Rise a global group where it will have women from all over the world. And we've been talking about this for the last 6 months. And beyond Activ coming here was a great chance to invite everyone, regardless if you're interested to be within the group, if it's only for networking. So we decided to do the dinner, and we've invited a lot of women who are coming here. I was very happy to know that some women have changed their flight plans just to attend the dinner. And I really wanted a lot of women from Saudi Arabia to attend. We had someone from Ministry of Sports, Ministry of Investment, the first female boxer in Saudi Arabia. And it was an amazing dinner. People talked to each other. We shared, our stories. And I think it's the seed. It's the start of something very big.
Mo, just to give some context, I guess women's organizations and women's in fitness is relatively new for the industry. But from your perspective, just provide a little bit of context as to why it's probably a little bit more unique in this country than probably having it in Europe or America.
Yeah, I think, Saudi Arabia as a country and the region as a country is often, I think, misunderstood internationally in various aspects. But I think when it comes to women in particular, I come from a Muslim background. My mom and dad are so proud to have a lot of people in my family who live here, who live in Dubai and around the world. And I think, I've always had a deep understanding and appreciation for the role that women played in a family unit and just in culturally as well. But internationally, that really isn't how women in Saudi Arabia have been viewed. And what we've seen happen over the last really 5-6 years is a strong progression towards making sure that women are put in positions where the world could see the role that they play, the world could see the opportunities that women have, especially in the kingdom. So I was speaking to my mom last week about coming to Riyadh, and she was so excited because she knew that there's some wonderful things happening in the GCC and in Saudi specifically. But the fact that you and I, for example, are coming here from the US and speaking about it and bringing the attention means that not just the Muslim world, but the whole world now has an opportunity to understand, especially in our industry, about some of the changes that are happening here. And some of them are really meaningful and really obvious. But from this conference, what I've seen is people like Shadan, and she is the CEO of Leejam, which is a publicly traded company. They're the largest fitness operator. This is not someone who is the COO of a gym with a couple of locations. This is a meaningful role. And we met so many other women in key leadership initiatives, both in public and the private sector, who are focused on women empowerment. And I think that theme on women empowerment and advancing the needs of women and the special needs of what women need is something that women all over the world share. And I think that's what you were talking about and by having your event. So I'm just really excited to see kind of what's been happening here in Saudi over the last several years now go more international and really to have a voice where I think there really wasn't one. But what I'm really curious about from your perspective is the other thing that I've noticed is we did these club tours yesterday and we saw I think 5 or 6 clubs around Riyadh, and I saw more women coming in and out of the club. It could be time of day, could for other reasons, than I saw men. And women are working out and they are lifting and you know, being at Leejam, or just your perspective in general, what do you think's changed over the last few years, maybe the last decade, that have gotten women into fitness?
So I'll take it from a Leejam perspective. So when we started in 2017, women around Saudi Arabia were very happy. Leejam was already in 27 cities, Fitness Time, I mean the clubs, and these ladies already were exposed somehow to our gyms through their husbands, their brothers, someone in the family, a male in the family. And it was exciting times for women that Fitness Time is opening for ladies. At that time, when I joined Leejam, we were only 3 ladies and we had 3,000 male colleagues.
Wow.
And we thought that we'll do a copy-paste. So a male club would be changing the logo to a female club. And it will work. It has been working for 15 years. But we had different needs. And we needed some time to understand what are the needs. So we were happy with the brand. We were happy with the offering. Women came to our clubs. We opened the doors with not less than 1,000 members. And slowly we understood that there are changes that we need to do. Women wanted more weights, heavier weights. We thought, no, they wanted a smaller area. No, they wanted a bigger area. Mm-hmm. Women needed more private areas to pray. At male clubs, they pray anywhere. And the female clubs, we understood that no, they wanted a private area to pray. So we started putting this into our plans. For many, many years, we did not have music in our clubs, more than 15 years. Mm-hmm. But when we started the ladies, Zumba is very important class for them.
And you can't have Zumba without music.
How
right?
can we do it without music? So, but every time we wanted to change something, our male colleagues have been very supportive. We wouldn't have been doing what we did unless they were with us. But the changes sometimes are difficult, and you would face resistance, not only because it's a change, but because they're afraid, what if it doesn't work? But unless we try, we wouldn't know. So we had to try adding music. And today we have music in all male and female clubs. So change is not easy. Sometimes it's not accepted, but we have to try. Some things work, others don't.
I'm really curious about the music. So I definitely recognize that is one thing that I noticed. There's music, there's women driving as well, but on the music in particular, so culturally, music was not really accepted.
Yes.
Right? What changed?
So the youth, you have, more than 50% of this population is less than 35 years. And they are very exposed to social media. I think it's a cultural thing that elder people do not prefer music. They relate it to a wedding, but it's not in public, it's not in a restaurant, it's not in a gym. Slowly people adapt. Sometimes we had upset members. We had members who canceled their membership. So we adjust our timing. So we do 6 a.m. until 12, no music. And after 12, we have music. And that's because we want everyone to be happy. We want members who want music to be happy, members who do not want music to have their own time to come when there is no music. So, and that's what's unique about our market, that you'll find people who are very open to the change, very open to modern things, but you will also have people who are, they cherish the culture. We cannot come close or touch some of the things that they believe in, and we're happy to accommodate.
We heard a lot over the last few days about the vision over the next up to 2030, and you also have we're hearing more stories about what you're doing as it relates to women in the region. What are there any specifics that are probably not currently in place as it relates to women, but are part of the future. I know one of the things I understood is it's only really been a few years since women have been driving in the area, which I guess for people who, even myself, I didn't realize that was a thing. So what else is probably being discussed at the moment that's likely to be quite a big change for the region?
So the Vision 2030 it's a huge vision. It has many pillars, and one of the most important pillars is empowering women, and that's women have been working in the health sector, education, also banking for many years. Maybe names did not shine, which is happening now. Today we have 6 female ambassadors around the world. Our first female ambassador, Princess Rima bint Mandar, is in the US. So, and we're very proud. These are the role models for the new generations. Today, women are handling critical positions in the government, Ministry of Sports, Ministry of Investment, and they are capable of doing the change. They are capable of leading the change to achieve the KPIs that we have for the Vision 2030. As a private sector, we play a role, and as Adnan said in his panel, if we don't do it, government will do it. So we either work with a pace, with a very fast pace, or we'll be left behind. And it's not limitation, but private sectors they have their own KPIs and numbers and investors. But we think that we are enablers of the Vision 2030 when it comes to women and when it comes to fitness. And today, as I told you in the beginning, Leejam was 3,000 male, the staff, in head office and clubs. Today, more than half of this is female, especially in head office, where 80% of marketing team is female. 50% of the HR team is female, which didn't happen before.
Which is interesting because it probably aligns also well with US companies, right? So a lot of the ratios are very similar, certainly in my company as well. Fitness and wellness for men or women in the region is a very new thing.
Yes.
Your penetration is hovering, depending on which stats you look at, 4%, 6% right now across the KSA. What are some things you think that need to get done to have the population understand the benefits of spending some time investing in themselves and spending some time by coming to one of your clubs to being better?
So as you said, penetration, we still don't have the right figure. It's between 3 and 4, not 6. So I think government is doing a lot behind this. So government is supporting us, not directly, but the focus that the government has on fitness and wellness is huge. And today it is one of the most important KPIs for any entity, if it's government or private. And this is how our corporate is growing. It's because companies understand the importance of the well-being of their employees, and it's one of their major, most important KPIs to achieve. I think penetrations will be better if we. It's about knowledge. Mm-hmm. People still do not take fitness or a fitness membership or a gym membership as a necessity. It's a luxury thing. I remember I read once that after COVID, they've done a survey in UK, and they said after things go back to normal, what are the 3 things that you would spend money on? And a gym membership was number 3. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't happen here for now. And we need to work on making it one of the 3 most important things that a person would spend money on.
So I'm curious, what are the 3 things that people would spend money on here?
I think education, travel, and tourism is very important now in Saudi, and there is a huge focus on it, and people are enjoying it. So we can see that there is a huge drive to tourism. I don't know if you visited some of the places that have been created for this Boulevard or the other places. But if you visit there, you would see why do people spend their money there? It's worth it. But gym membership, being a member, looking after your health, is still not one of the 3 boxes.
Shadan, a final question before we wrap up. We were chatting last night about the speed of the change, and you probably can see this from 2 perspectives: one from the country, and also from your organisation, Leejam, and how they continue to expand at quite a rapid rate. What do you see some of the biggest challenges that you'll need to focus on to deal with that speed of change? Because I guess you have some of the older people that probably are seeing this happen extremely quickly, and then the younger people that probably didn't necessarily see how things were previously, and then the mix of everything in between. So are there any things that you're aware of that are probably going to need to be focused on to ensure that's a successful transition?
Yeah. So if you know, Leejam has been there for over 18 years, and Leejam was only a gym operator. After COVID, which is like 4 or 5 years ago, we have changed our strategy. And today, Leejam is a gym operator. This is our bread and butter, but we're also a sports company. And that's why we're investing in paddle courts. We're investing in a basketball academy. We're looking into, collaborating with government. Even our suppliers are getting engaged with us in different activities. We've done 5 small marathons in different cities because we wanted people to participate, families together. And these are the changes that are happening, and they're happening very quickly. And we're learning. It's a learning time for us, because we've done things that we said, should we do it again? Did we do it the right way? And unless we try again and again, we wouldn't know. So there are a lot of challenges. The market is growing very quickly. There are very, very unique challenges to the fitness industry in Saudi Arabia. Human capital is finding talented trainers is not easy. You know that more than 95% of our trainers are coming from abroad. So this is a challenge with the growth. We're expanding. Today we have 188 clubs. By the end of the year, we might have 220. So finding the talents is not easy, and that's why we created. So in 2018, we created a program called Be the Trainer, and this program is for. It started from the ladies when we had a ladies department, and this program was to find people who are passionate about fitness, but they know nothing about it. So we get them on board, we take them into a 6-month training, we put them in the clubs, they become floor trainers, and then they decide where they want to go, if it's GX or PT or whatever it is. And this has today, this was the seed of our academy. Our academy is opening this year, and we're looking at graduating 500 trainers every year. So it's a challenge that we face. We're trying to find the solution, create a solution, ups and downs for 4 or 5 years, and today we have the final product.
Fantastic. Well, Shadan, thank you very much for your time today, and for also showing us around your clubs over the last couple of days, and looking forward to coming back next year and seeing where you are.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Matthew. It's a pleasure. Thank you. We're really very, very happy to have everyone here in Saudi Arabia.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, Matthew, we are excited to have Emlyn Brown, Senior Vice President of Wellbeing at Accor Hotel Group, right? Accor, is that correct?
That's correct. Accor. We can do it
Accor, okay. And we're actually staying in an Accor hotel today. We're filming this from the Fairmont in Riyadh at Beyond Activ.
Yeah, well, obviously Fairmont's one of our legacy brands, incredible history of this hotel group. Accor purchased them in 2016. It's one now a portfolio of 44 brands we have within the Accor umbrella that ranges from our ultra luxury Orient Express to Raffles, all the way down to our lifestyle brands such as Hoxton and Mama Shelter, and in between that, major brands like Ibis that you might know. So, we're obviously one of the biggest players within Europe, within the Middle East, within Southeast Asia, and a strong footing also in the United States.
What are you here for?
That's a good question. Well, here for a number of reasons. I think, look, we're part of supporting this incredible vision for 2030. We have about 65 to 70 hotels in development of various categories all the way through. Naturally, I'm working on a number of those properties with Neon, with Red Sea and Amla and so on and so forth. So for me, it was more to understand that a little bit more. I've been working maybe remotely with these Saudi projects. The last time I came to Saudi was about 5 years ago. Secondly, we're doing a lot of fitness elements here within the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And I really wanted to touch base with people who are at the forefront of that, what the customer wants, what the experience wants, what the changes that are happening within society. Obviously, we're witnessing some incredible growth, but also to understand the Saudi market to a certain degree, one of the youngest populations on the planet, right? Yeah. And with that's going to come a massive change in terms of expectation, experiences, abroad travel, and so on. So it's a really exciting time to be here, to be part of that vision, to understand that. But I think more to understand. And then thirdly, see some of my wonderful colleagues that I bounce into on the sort of circuit that we're on from, obviously Techno Gym and Hyperice and some of my other colleagues. So a number of those things together.
How are you looking at that category now? Because we met in LA at the Connected Fitness event, and we're talking about some of the projects in places like Miami, for example. And how as an organization with many different brands, if you had to sort of put it together with your approach to it, like how are you seeing like where it is and where you as an organization need to be thinking in that space?
I think that we're a oil tanker or an aircraft carrier, not a speedboat, right? So we have to recognize that first of all. And secondly, as we work on the design and development side, projects that I'm working on from 2018 are only now just coming online. So it's 5 to 6 year runway there of development. And inside that, the guys within the retail space or the boutique space can change and move and change and move. So for us, it's about fundamentals, not fad. We have to really make a bankable decision about where wellness and well-being is going. The good news is the fundamentals of wellness haven't changed for 2,000 years, right? So if you're tackling things like movement, nutrition, mindfulness in a clear way, you're delivering a 95% solution to guests. And then the second part to understand is I really think that the differentiation is on execution. You can have all the best sort of concepts and ideas in the world, but still the people plays a massive part of that sort of experience, particularly in a hotel context, right? So put those two things together and you're sort of future-proofing where you're going and what you want to do. And most importantly, recommending to owners things that have longevity. Hotels can be around 30, 40, 50, 100 years, 140 years some of our fair ones, right? So you're making much more longer plays. At the same time, there is wholesale change happening in how we're thinking about wellness and well-being in a hotel. And I'd say there's probably three major drivers to that. One is hotels have become places for living, not for sleeping. Right, so that's a major change in how we think about how a hotel is built and constructed. So we talked to Sebastian Bazal, he's announced it many times. We're looking to build hotels for local community. Okay, so that means restaurants open to people from outside, bars, co-working spaces, and so on. So with that in mind, there's nothing more communal than wellness and well-being or fitness to a certain degree. So that leads on to the sort of second play that I see as being big for us, which is, I call it the 3 Bs: boutique, big box, bathing. Right, so looking to bring in boutique concepts into to bring local community in, where we can actually have space that maybe turns and changes every 3 or 4 years with new trends, right? But it's a more flexible play and therefore less of an investment. Big box in terms of, I really believe that big box fitness had its little dip period, but is now definitely on the resurgence because people now realize, that $200 a month you're spending on Barry's for once a week, you can actually go every day to a great big box club, right? And so big box for us is getting our membership in order, getting our design in order, and bringing our facilities together into one space where we can sell it as a membership, right? Because a hotel would normally have a pool, a gym, a studio, a co-working space. So if you're thinking of the design in a better way, you're going to create a better experience for hotel guests and also for outside people, and more revenue stream. The third play that we're doing, I'd say, is bathing. And I think that, for us, bathing is what we call and I call a universal wellness language, right? So this idea of bathing culture is indicative of many different cultures around the world. Here in the Middle East, and it would be hammam, it would be some Moroccan bathing, it would be Jimbaran or Korean bathing in certain places. And what we're seeing is this move from, I say, me to we of wellness, whereby it's much more socially engaged. And I think that bathing offers an opportunity for us to do that across a multi-generational element, because the idea of going from hot to cold won't disappear. And the reason it won't disappear is A, it's highly effective, right? It's been around for thousands of years. But B, we have a younger generation discovering the health benefits of this. And the endorphin rush of it. I mean, I just did a thing called Othership in Toronto a few months ago, right?
Yes.
You guys know pretty well.
do.
You know, and people are jumping out of that for feeling fantastic for $100 for 2 hours experience. That's social and engaging. So those sort of three areas are where we want to play and like to play.
As you think about the region, is really going through a massive transformation. And we've been talking with other folks around the difficulty of bringing a Western brand like a Fairmont and just overlaying it over like the KSA, just because it is different. But you also mentioned that a lot of these projects aren't just 6 months or 12 months, but they take years to do. As you kind of think about well-being as it relates to the region and the transformation that this is going, you're kind of trying to implement a change in a rocket ship. It's moving fast, it's transforming fast, and here you are talking about being well-being, bringing well-being into projects in development now. That's got to be hard to do. So how do you do that?
Well, I hope I'm doing it right. We're going to find out in 10 years' time when these things come online. But look, I think back to the situation before. Number one, Accor has been in the Middle East market for a number of years. We're one of the first movers into the Middle East market. We are the strongest player in the hotel market here, and therefore our partnerships and our ability to understand the market is very, very strong. We have established roots, deep roots here in Saudi Arabia, in Dubai, in Oman, and so on. That helps us a lot. Secondly, in terms of, look at, say, future-proofing concepts, back to our original conversation. If you're helping people move their body, if you're helping to feed people and fuel them in a nutritional way, if you're helping to reduce stress and mindfulness through your concepts, you're hitting the 90% mark, and they are universal, okay? I think that the third thing, we want to push the boundary. There are things, let's call it longevity, and I hope we talk about that in a minute. I have some strong opinions about it. But like longevity, about supporting people in a different way. The great thing is, if you saw this morning, you have a Saudi Arabian government that's making a massive push into both sport and fitness of their population. They recognize very clearly that an active population is needed to support and drive this growth. That helps us. The younger generation is traveling abroad, understands more. There's some cultural changes happening within there that helps certain things in terms of design and development. But at the same time, we must respect the cultural norms and the sort of local customs that are here when it comes down to providing certain separation of facilities, for example, focusing on women-only facilities in some of our locations and actually leaning into that in a great way. So, you know, it's a balancing act. I'd say, look, we're looking to bring a sort of 65 to 70% international perspective, but be very strong with that 30% on how we localize, right? And most importantly, listen to our customers. That's the most important thing.
You mentioned that this has been around for thousands of years. Also, I guess you recognize that there are things like we just mentioned now, this longevity kind of trend. I know that you're, from our conversation in LA, like you certainly really stay ahead and are aware and understand a lot about the space. So where do you go to find where things are going at the sort of, you know, at the edge of the spear and sort of make those decisions between what you think is really going to stick in terms of how you package and communicate and things that, you know, you may want to stay out of?
That's a really good question. I think that from my own personal perspective, probably three things. I go to the States, particularly West Coast, to see that emergence of tech, innovation, fitness movement, because it's one of the most active locations in that space, which is why, you know, some of the events over there are really beneficial. New York is also a real hotbed right now of exercise and movement, which is strange. If you remember New York from before to New York's more LA than LA is now, right? It's really quite interesting, right? So those two locations are real hotbeds. At the same time, in terms of my own personal understanding of it, you know, I get access to a lot of this information, a lot of this new tech and new ideas. If you can describe it to me in less than a paragraph, I usually will probably buy into it. If it takes more than a paragraph to explain, then usually you're going to lose my attention. If it needs that long to explain, it moves away from physiological practicality and benefit. Okay. The third thing that we look at, I think, in terms of let's call it recovery and longevity movement, if you're looking into professional sport and how they treat professional athletes, right? When you're looking at that 1% performance increase, that was happening 20 years ago. IV was in the NFL 30 years ago. HBOT was in Premier League football 25 to 30 years ago, right? And these things now are filtering down into the mainstream, as does recovery and percussive massage and compression therapy. I thought about it really in terms of the professional athlete is now becoming into this mainstream athlete, right? So it's happened at professional sport, usually it's been vindicated to a certain degree. People have been ice bathing, you've got like a picture putting his arm in an ice bath since the 70s. Why? Reduction of inflammation and so on and so forth. They're all fundamental physiological proven elements. So that's good, right? And you can really hang your hat on that because it's been proven within a professional sport context, right? And they'll treat their guys pretty well. They won't make many mistakes with multi-million-pound players. Then the last piece is really the new foundation, is this sort of tech piece where you've got this combination of haptic, light, sound therapy, the use of VR, for example, the new launch of our Apple goggles. These are all the new things that you sort of got to wait a little bit and see where it's going to go. But things like AI are going to have a massive, monumental shift on what we do, how we work, and how we practice things, right? How we deliver wellness to our guests, well, accessibility to information, the use of robotics is going to be a massive part. Do I know exactly where that's going right now? No, I don't want to make any big calls, but for example, Target now has a $9 manicure or nail paint application, which you can do via robotics in its shop. Yeah. All right, so you go in, it removes the nail varnish and puts it on.
Does it work away? Well?
I'm not trying it myself personally. I've only seen it online, right? But think about that. Think about what that's going to do from a shift of a whole segment and sector. So these things are coming, and I think that we're starting to get a picture of what the possibility is, but also what the impact's going to be. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, no, it certainly does. And I think you made this comment in LA because there's been we hear this idea of like personalization and bringing data. And look, I run a technology company. And one of the core principles is don't over inundate yourself with data. If you don't know what to do with it, don't use it. We live in this culture where we're almost data obsessed, where you're wearing 3-4 wearables and you're trying to follow this, trying to follow that. We've almost overcomplicated and over sophisticated it. And you keep on going back to this thing that wellness, one, if it's been done in pro sports, it's coming down now to the mainstream, but also the fundamental pillars of wellness have been around for a very long time and they have not really changed, right? Eat unprocessed foods, focus on movement, get some sleep in and hydrate. That's pretty consistent. So when you think about bringing that into a hotel experience, we find some hotels kind of really going all into hyper personalization from a hotel perspective, which I don't necessarily know actually works. So would love to get your thoughts on what you think about, personalization. And when you're thinking from a hotel product perspective, do you really personalize everything where it says, welcome to your room and I've got all this custom stuff for you? Or
I think it's a really good question. I think, look, we're renowned within our ultra-luxury brands for the ability to personalize, to empathize, to have that EQ level that allows us to engage and understand our guests. And for me, personalization is listening to body language, listening to tonality, and listening to actually what's being said to you and then responding to that, right? Rather than sort of giving lists to different people of what they actually want and need. And I think that this idea of personalization needs to be much more humanistic, right? If it's to be effective, right? And I think within the hotel concept luxury level, we do that very, very well. The idea you talked about data is interesting, right? Because there's so much data around. We're over-dataized, for want of a better word, right? And go back to your fundamentals. How do you feel? Have you slept well? Are you eating well? Have you done your movement? Boil down to your 10,000 steps. Have you sweat? Done some form of sweat today, right? Whether it's going to be in a sauna or on a treadmill. That's really what the fundamentals are, the 99.5%. And you can track that and see that and feel that. I do like wearables. I do like being tracked. But what I concern me is where does the data go? Right? If I go to my GP, my doctor, not one of them has asked me to show me my wearable or my trackable, even though 95% of the population is wearing some kind of wearable, right? So this data will need to go somewhere, whether it goes to AI, right? And then AI tells us what's happening during the day and how we can regulate our day and make it better. That's probably what the outcome is going to be. Whether people are going to want to have that and buy into that, some will, some definitely won't. So it's a very interesting time. But again, I'm really a big believer on this 95%, where you can meet your customers and guests in the best way. Here within a hotel, we have a fantastic opportunity to meet and support the well-being of our guests in multiple ways. Through food and beverage delivery, either in room or in restaurant, right? Through our gym and fitness design, getting people to move their body, or around the resort or around the urban location through apps and different technology. We can improve our sleep quality through incredible room design that we do with our Raffles brand or with our Swiss Hotel brand, which was one of the first hotel groups to talk about sleep in that context with its vitality.
Sleep's quite interesting because I've had a terrible sleep since I've been here. But none of us sleep and you almost think now, like when I go to a hotel, it's like the sound in the room, because sometimes they're not as quiet as what they could be, and the mattresses, and like it's almost like if you go to a hotel that could kind of help you optimize your sleep, I could see that quite being important for business travels.
Like we both have Oura rings on, and I had good sleep last night. You still have horrible sleep, but I think would a hotel? Can you see a world where the hotel room is customized based off saying, "Hey, we see that you've just traveled, and you really need to have deep sleep in, so we're going to customize the lighting, close the curtains, get."
100%, and we made inroads into that, I suppose, on one of the first movers in that with our Swiss hotel brand, where we created what we call the Vitality Room. My colleague Federico Teresi was leading part of that. We worked with Wallpaper on this. It's actually in Chicago. You want to go and try it? It was the first iteration, circadian lighting.
Yes.
Improved air quality, mattress decision making, removing any sort of forms of carpet, wooden-based floors for allergic to reactions, proper blackout curtains, removing any ambient light from the room in order to promote sleep. And that was in about 2016, 2017, right? That moved on to other iterations and formed the basis for more room design, particularly with our Raffles brand and our Fairmont brand. All right. Sofitel My Bed is all about creating a more incredible sleep experience. But can we be better? 100%. If you think about any hotel group, not just Accor, but all hotel groups, while we are places for living, we're also places for sleeping. And we should be the best in the business of that. Right?
Why do they put those flashing lights on the ceiling when you're in
Yeah,
pitch black room?
we can all give our travel feedback about ambient light. I mean, ambient light's probably my biggest bugbear, but that's also because there seemed to be in a room was previously a demand to say, let's bring as much tech in the room as possible. And now what I'm seeing is actually a change there. Let's remove as much tech as possible, right? So our Orient Express brand, for example, which will be launching in Venice, which is obviously an incredible opportunity for us with both the train and also the hotels, we've removed TVs. Right, because you're in Rome and you're in Venice, right? We, if you want to have a television, of course we can bring one to your room, but that's not become a standard anymore. That's going to remove a lot of electromagnetic frequency. It's going to help sleep and so on, and encourage people to be more present, to be more engaged.
I just don't watch TV.
Very cool.
Yeah,
No, I don't.
right. So I think that if you think about the tech piece in the hotel room, just to put that to one side, my personal belief is that we carry more tech in our bags than we do ever going to get in a hotel room. So enlightened hotel groups would realize, just allow me to play my content when I want to play it on certain things, and don't overload me with the Bose speaker and the coffee machine and all the different other stuff that comes, because I want to promote my holistic well-being through an incredible sleep factor, and take that money and put it into circadian lighting or bedding and so on and so forth. And I think that's the direction we're going to be going.
Any final thoughts, Mo?
I'm excited for hotels are really evolving. They've gone from these, really, I think, transactional experiences into something that is truly focused on well-being. So I'm definitely excited for what Accor's coming out with. Thank you for being on.
My pleasure. And again, real great to chat to you both, and thank you for letting me come on. And I think it's an exciting time for wellness and well-being. And there's no better place for it than a hotel, I think, to support people's wellness and well-being. And Accor and other hotels are really taking active steps to do it. So I think for the next 5 or 10 years, it's a very exciting place for us all to be.
Yeah, thank you very much. Jason Tubbs, Fitness First Middle East. Welcome to L.I.F.T.S.
Hey Matthew, how are you?
Very good. Last time we spoke, we were in London, and you were at another space, actually. So that's going back a bit.
So I think that's probably about 4 or 5 years ago when I was running obviously the boutique arm of Third Space in London. Yes, so lots of changes.
What tempted you out here?
Quite a few things. Weather, tax free, but more importantly, opportunity. I mean, my career started in Fitness First. I was with Fitness First 12 years. Obviously, opened up the first club, a head office club in the UK. So it's always been a heart and soul of mine. And when the opportunity came arise, that come over here and head up operations, I thought, wow, it's a big opportunity. So hence why I'm over here. Been over here for 4 years now.
Right. We've seen Dubai explode, and that's obviously the hub that everybody's talking about and has been talking about for a number of years. But Saudi is a new market. I've never been in the country before, and this is a unique event, really. Lot of very, I guess, influential people from the fitness industry coming here to see what's going on. Give your explanation as a Brit that was working in London, coming here. How do you see the market, and how would you best describe someone who's not been in the region? How would you explain what's happening in the fitness and wellness sector?
Okay, if we look at the UAE, I mean, there is different segments within the UAE. Everyone says about Dubai, Dubai, Dubai. Everyone wants to be in Dubai because they think it's a promised land. But the population is not huge, so density is quite small. There is quite a lot of competition. There's more competition just opened up recently because people think it's the place to be. But there is other Emirates such as Sharjah and Abu Dhabi where there's as much opportunities, but everyone talks about Dubai. So Fitness First UAE is quite diverse. So for example, in the Sharjah clubs, you can't have male and females working out in the same area. So we then devise reception areas where females go to one side, males go on the opposite side. In Dubai, anything goes. It's open, mixed clubs and ladies only clubs on that side of it. So it's quite diverse. And then in Abu Dhabi, it's a little bit more conservative, but you can have mixed clubs there. So when I first came over, I thought, okay, it must be quite a simple model, but it's actually, even in different Emirates within the UAE, are very diverse. So you have to sort of diversify your product, the people that you have in those clubs, and make sure you're sort of current trends. So it's definitely expanding. Everyone talks about Dubai, but there is other opportunities everywhere else as well. And so that's just the UAE. And then everyone asks me about KSA all the time because everyone in the fitness industry says KSA, KSA, KSA. So we've got about 5 clubs here. So not many when we look at the footprint and the density of population. But I think at the moment, everyone's thinking pump money into KSA, but it's a little bit chaotic at the moment in my eyes that people think, okay, let's just do a location. Let's go for land grab. So it's a bit like the UK 20 years ago when we say fitness first, we'll have club here, club here, club here. And then you consolidate and you think, well, that was a bad idea going that place there. But I think at the moment, that's what's happening in the marketplace. There's some premium clubs, like top-end clubs, equivalent to third space clubs in London opening up here. And then you've obviously got the budget chain. But for us, I mean, we're just sitting back as Fitness First and seeing what's going on. I think there'd be some consolidation within the marketplace in KSA. But it's definitely an exciting place because the vision of the leaders is very much sports orientated. But for us, we need to define our concept. Again, you can't have mixed clubs over here, so it's male or female, even though there is 2 mixed clubs, but they're in the diplomatic area. And things are changing quite quickly over here. So I think for us as Fitness First, we're just going to sit back and watch, make sure our product is right and fit for purpose. And also, where do we fit in the marketplace? Because that has to be identified, and then we go for expansion.
So with Fitness First, you've been around for about 2 or 3 decades, right? Going back to the time in the UK, but your product has had to evolve, and you've had to evolve the product as you just talked about here in the Middle East. How do you see the product offering changing in light of a progressive consumer that is evolving quickly? I think the differences in population, you talked about Dubai, which is heavily expat driven, so the product is different. And also wellness is changing. So you've got all of these levers changing, and you, being an operator, have to keep up with that. So how are you kind of evolving what you've been typically known for?
So on that side, you're right in what you say. And Dubai seems to be where things happen. The latest things happen, the latest ideas, whether it's retail, experience, and different offerings. So that's no different to the fitness offering. So we have to be ahead of the current times, not only in Dubai and the Middle East, but in line with what's happening in America and in the UK. So for example, in all the clubs, we're going to build recovery rooms with ice baths and different therapy and stuff like that, pre and post workout recovery rooms. We're looking at different types of signature classes. We're very heavily on our signature classes in our group exercise. In fact, our group signature classes are more popular than any Les Mills class and things like that. So we're diversifying on that side and keep on to current trends because we have to offer something different that no one else can offer. So that's why we come up with signature classes. Our PT model, we have over 520 PTs, and that's generating, we're about, in the UAE, about 10 to 12% penetration on PT, so which is great. Some clubs are as high as 17%. So when you look at where the offering is, we have to be ahead of the current trends, look at what the members are offering and being offered elsewhere, and just making sure that our standards and that offering is there for all the guys.
So you're seeing consumers kind of come in post-pandemic, and they're probably more informed than they were before the pandemic,
Totally.
right? So they're coming in. What kind of trends are you seeing with your members in what they're asking for? You talk about your boutique offering. It has been strong, focused on recovery. Anything else that you're seeing consumers asking for?
No, I mean, without doubt, pandemic has made people more educated because they research online. We did a lot of online classes to engage with our members. And what we've seen is they still want the same thing. They want that engagement. They want that superstar group exercise instructor. They want that personal trainer who is educated and continue educated because the members more educated. Right. So I think the members are challenging our fitness offering and our PTs more so because they understand more about diet, nutrition and health benefits. So for us, we have our own training academy to make sure that our PTs are constantly educated. So we dedicate, they've got their own platform where we give them courses on a regular basis, all linked to reps as well, to keep them above the current trend because members are demanding that. Right. So I would say that's probably the biggest thing. The fitness offering, yes, they're looking for the latest piece of equipment. So for us to have some hero products as piece of equipment that we can actually start utilizing is something we're looking at. And one of our clubs, we're looking for an innovation club to look at what is the latest trend. We can put it into a club, trial it, get members feedback and innovation, and those products that will then go forward because members are asking, what's next? What's next? They're looking for more athletic training. They're looking for obviously more functional space. And we have dedicated a lot of our floor areas for functional space. So it's less about cardio, it's more about free weights, less about pin load, it's more about functional, and it's more about Group X. Always has been Group X, and it's huge on Group X at the moment. So our Group X is about 80% capacity all the times.
You mentioned personal training. We did some of the club tours yesterday. I was chatting to some people, and they were mentioning just getting trainers, and that they were importing quite a few. Trying to, I won't say they didn't want to import them from the UK, but there's obviously challenges from a cost perspective when you bring people on. How are you seeing trainer market, and where, if you are bringing people in, where are you looking to get good trainers to maintain that standard?
So we're looking everywhere. So I mean, it's probably each territory is slightly different. So if we look at KSA, I would say 70% of our personal trainers from Egypt, but we've got Saudization. We have to maintain like 40% of our total staff have to be from Saudi. And it's very difficult to find good quality Saudi personal trainers. So that's why we've got our training academy to try and do that. We're looking at apprenticeship schemes as well to tie in with universities and fitness providers, training providers, that we can give them the skills and the time inside the clubs. So in Dubai, it's more international trainers. We have a lot from the Middle East, from Eastern Europe, and a lot of Filipinos working for us as well, which cross over from GX to PT as well. So I would say it's a bit more mixed on that side of it, but definitely in KSA, they have to be more Arabic speakers, so we have to be sort of more streamlined down that route.
Mo, anything that you've got to finish off with?
No, I mean, I just want to go back to what you said in the beginning, because we do see this go all. Look, we've seen a lot of big trends, a lot of investment coming in on the tech side. You saw it happen with Web3. It's happening with AI, which I think is a real thing. But before that, think about the pandemic. Everyone kind of went all in on connected fitness. Before that, it was a certain boutique trend, F45. So I think this measured, calculated approach that you're taking towards the KSA is actually one we've not heard a lot of, but I think it's a really smart move, because you're right. People are opening up clubs at such a rapid pace. And sometimes I wonder, when you go that quickly, you're working in a consumer base that doesn't know much about fitness. Correct. They're not educated about fitness. You're opening up a club in a location. How do you know that that's the right location to place the club and make the investment in, when that neighborhood doesn't know anything about what fitness is about, right? And so they're just opening up stores, hoping that let's open them up and people will come in. But you've taken this more calculated approach, which I think is really smart. So how do you kind of view this educate? Because a part of it is also the industry educating the population on the benefits of fitness. Because unlike Dubai, where your consumer already knows fitness, you're providing optionality. You're providing saying, come to my facility because I've got these things. But when you go to Sharjah or maybe Abu Dhabi and into the KSA, it's very different because now you have to educate the consumer on why having a gym membership is a good thing.
And that's why, I mean, it's good, like the governments and obviously the rulers for these territories and the kingdoms are really supporting us. So, for example, if we step back to in Dubai, we're heavily integrated with Dubai Sports Council and looking at how we can actually get non-active people active. So we're heavily involved with Beat Diabetes via the Landmark Group who own us. We do a lot of walks and a lot of things regarding that side of it. We start diversifying in our products. So we just launched more of a smaller ladies only club in Dubai. And it's only 850 square meters. Now we pre-sold that membership within a couple of months. We got 550 members. In the first month of trading, we've gained another 160 members. So we're going to put a waiting list on that club. But we've created a bit of a niche and we're trying different models which actually impacts the local community. So it's finding what that is to encourage people to come in. And it's not only about our new member journey and our member journey. We're looking at what is a non-member journey within Fitness First. Yeah. So how we're attracting or how we engage with people that aren't involved with fitness clubs. And how can we create a journey for them? It doesn't have to be related to Fitness First, but then we help them investigate what exercise benefits work for them and how we do that. Then if they are thinking about fitness, then we're part of that journey. So we're not only concentrating on new member acquisition, we're looking at a non-member journey, and that could be us doing charity events, free classes in the park, runs that are free to non-members, not related to Fitness First. So I think then you reach out to different people, and we're trying different yoga classes. We just did a very successful jump event in Dubai, which was for non-members and members. We had 350 people turn up to that. We did a body combat event where we had over 500 people do that. And some of these are free events for non-members to come along and start experiencing it. And we try and get iconic venues so people can actually walk past and go, what's going on over there? And come and join in. So I think for us, it's about educating those people by doing those type of events. And it's not always about selling memberships.
Jason Tubbs, thank you very much for your time today. Appreciate the conversation.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason. Appreciate it. So Matthew, we have Nathan Clute from Armah. He is the Chief Strategy Officer. Really happy to have you on L.I.F.S here at Beyond Active. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
We was at your offices on Monday, and must admit, the clubs and the offices extremely impressive. So what a great place to work.
Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, we're quite proud with what we've developed, and it's good to see this. I mean, you've seen it too, right? The vision that we had. It's nice to see it come to fruition, and a lot of people have said that from the early kind of pictures and images we had presented, how close we were able to come to that vision in real life. So it's nice to start seeing that coming together.
We went to see some of your, I guess, leadership team's previous creations, and it's nice to see the evolution as where you are today. And we talked a little bit about that on Monday. But how do you see the group that you're involved with now in terms of what they've learned and their view on the future after being involved in a number of very successful businesses and ventures in the area?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the vision of the group and of the team that we have is to continue innovating, to continue pushing the boundaries, and it's a quite humble group, right? Despite the years of experience that they have, and they're not shy to kind of sit and reflect on the lessons learned and the things that we've done wrong and the things that we can improve on, which I give them great credit for. And that's one of the reasons why I love being part of the team, right? Is because we're not afraid to say, and criticism is welcome in many respects, right? As we critique ourselves. And as we look to this new business, it's not about growing so quickly. It's about making sure that every club that we open is delivering on this kind of customer experience proposition that we have, and focusing just as much on the first club that we opened as the next club that we're going to open. I think this will be the last business that we create, but in this industry. But who knows?
You recently went public. And one of the common threads of the conversations that we've had over the last few days is just the immense growth and number of locations. And this is, in the next few years, we'll have, hundreds and hundreds of locations around the place. You guys seem to be completely the opposite in some respect, where it's a very conservative, well, for some people anyway, conservative expansion plan. So tell us a little bit about the plans and why there's no aspirations of having hundreds of these across the country.
I think all credit to the folks that are opening, these large volumes of clubs. I think there's huge opportunity in the market. And we see, a lot of growth potential both for existing players and for new people coming to the market. And we wish them all the best success. And again, I think just reiterate that I think there is market opportunity for it. We've taken a markedly different approach, only because, not because we don't see the opportunity in the market, but more because we have put at the core of everything we do this customer experience. We want to make sure that we have a small, intimate network of great clubs. And as Fahad often says, and the founders often say, we've kind of been there before. Our vision in our previous business was to be the biggest chain in the region, and it was kind of an achieved goal. And now it's quite different. So it's about delivering a great customer experience. And something I haven't mentioned, but is really important to us, is that we now see, especially with this growth in the market and the experience that the team has, we see an opportunity for Saudi and businesses here to really create innovation that can be applied globally. Because oftentimes, and in the past businesses that we've done, it was about looking to other markets, what's going on in the US, what's going on in Europe, how do we kind of copy better, get inspired, bring in and so on, and import ideas. But I think with the team that we have and the opportunity that exists within this market, and hopefully what folks have seen this week at the conference, is there's no reason why we can't start exporting innovation.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. I mean, I think you and I spoke, I think exactly a year ago. And one of the things of being from the region that I've noticed and I kind of impress upon Western brands trying to come here is doing a copycat model does not work. And bringing a Western idea or Western process, a Western brand into the KSA especially, it might work in Dubai, that might be the one exception, but it doesn't really work in the region because culturally it's very different. And I just want to ask you, when I was here, you had these two One Rebel locations, and you've since closed it down. Yeah. At the same time, you've kind of carved out your own space in this premium and ultra premium, is probably how you describe it, with BFit and Optimal, which seemingly is working well in the beautiful clubs. What's your thought behind, having those One Rebel locations, and what were some of the challenges there, as more as kind of foretelling other brands who think that they could just take a Western, idea that might work in New York and bring it to Riyadh?
Yeah. That's a good question. I think we have a lot of emotional attachment to the experience that we had at One Rebel. So we unfortunately had to close the men's club in June of last year and the ladies club in December of last year. Some of the reasons, I think, the way people experience a fitness club or a boutique club here is different than even in Dubai or anywhere else, right? You're not popping down from your office on your lunch break into the same building and you're 2 minutes away from a class, right? It's still very much a driving city. People will have to drive from work to wherever else they want to go, or from their home to wherever else they want to go. And if you've been around the city this week and in your past visits, you know that traffic isn't always the best, and it's a bit unpredictable, I guess. And there's a lot of positive things being done in terms of public transportation and other things, but a boutique kind of relies on the need for punctuality, especially
7 a.m. is 7 a.m.
Yeah, and we followed quite a strict policy of if you're not there within 2 or 3 minutes of the start time, you've lost your chance. Which works in other markets, and it's more challenging to implement here. I think we also tried to, brazenly perhaps, we opened the only men's only boutique in the world. Yeah, because we were so passionate about the boutique experience that we wanted to deliver this to the community. The feedback from those who tried it was fantastic, but we just weren't getting the traffic that you would at a boutique in other markets. And other markets benefit from being mixed environments, and 70-80% of the attendance is women. So, but again, we reflect back on this experience and say it was a very good learning experience. We had a lot of fun doing it. We've taken some of those ideas and lessons learned again, critiquing ourselves, and built that into Armah and BeFit and Optimo. And so I'm not sure if it's trying to import an international concept here, if that was the key thing, or it's just a boutique in general. But it's probably 10 or 12 different things that played into it.
And were you able to have music?
Yeah,
Oh,
we were
okay.
we're quite progressive on the music front, and the type of environments that we had inside the club. We had fire dancers and live music, and really trying to push the boundaries. And that's why we kept it a bit separate, right? Because it was an area that we could it was almost like, they call it like a sandbox, right? Mm-hmm. We could kind of play and do different things and kind of push the envelope a bit without kind of affecting what we were doing on the other side with Armah. So it was a lot of fun.
But you have no music today at BeFit or Optimo, correct?
We have a cappella in both Optimo and BeFit.
Okay.
That we do, especially for our class programming, which is primarily in the female side. In the female club reception area, we have some a cappella.
And I think for the Western audience that we have, if you could speak a bit about why music is a thing here, like why you cannot have it.
Well, it's not a question of you can having it or being able to have it or not being able to have it. I think it's a choice of our business. We choose not to have it in our clubs. I'm sure you've, during your time here and in the past, you've been to restaurants and cafes, and over the last 5 years, things have changed quite drastically. You hear music in these places, and Middle Beast is known all over the world now as one of the biggest music festivals. So it's not something that's not allowed. It's just, as a business, we know our target customer base. We know what our members are looking for. We know the type of experience that we're trying to deliver in our clubs, and this is the best way that we think we can reflect that strategy. And we see it in member feedback, right? We have a very strong membership base. And going back to one of your points earlier, this isn't Dubai. Dubai is a heavily expat skewed audience, right? And most of the clubs, not all the clubs, most of the clubs in Dubai specifically cater towards, their audience is 90-95% expat, if not more. Whereas our audience is and our customer base is 90-95% Saudi nationals. And given that our founders are Saudis and they've been in the industry for so long, they know the customer.
In your role, Chief Strategy Officer, tell us a little bit about what that involves in this current position, and have you created any frameworks for yourself over your time in the industry to be able to be effective and successful in that role?
Maybe I'll start with just giving a bit of background about our team, right? Whom you guys have met, but I think we have a very unique team and we work very well together. So it's the four of us have been working. Speaking of Fahad, the CEO, Abdul, the Chief Commercial Officer, and Suleiman, the Chief Operating Officer, we've been working together now for 10 or 12 years. We've taken 2 companies public. We're very close friends, which is one of the reasons why I joined the business in the first place. And we consider, it started as a family business, now it's a public business, but we operate ourselves in a lot of ways as a family business. And so I think of the guys as family as much as anything else. So that allows us to be a bit more flexible in terms of how we define how we essentially implement our roles, right? We all help out in everything. We're also now a small company. We only have a few clubs. So it's in some ways hard to define exactly what we consider a chief strategy officer. But what I can say over the last 18 to 24 months specifically is one of my main roles was helping to drive the listing process, the IPO, which is not only putting documentation in place for the regulator, but it's everything that goes behind that, and making sure that there's a defined strategy on paper that everybody buys into and has the approval of the board and is solid and tested and will pass through diligence and everything else, and setting policies and procedures in place that we can be operate as with proper governance, right? So it's a lot of these things that kind of took up the majority of my time over the last couple of years. And as we look to the future, it's kind of now that we are public and we have a defined strategy and we have defined goals in place that the market is expecting us to deliver upon, it's around making sure that we're tracking against that, I guess. Yeah.
And with the strategy of the country and the leaders here, have you had to think about how that relates or aligns in any way with your business?
100%. Even from the very beginning, when we started Armah back in 2019, Vision 2030 was very much a part of that, the seed for the business. And a key part of Vision 2030, as you guys probably know, is the quality of life program, and it's about bringing Saudi cities into the top cities in the world, best places to live. And this has many different facets to it, but one of them is participation, and one of them is innovation, and one of them is activity, and so on. And so we put that at the core of what we're doing, and we really see ourselves tied to trying to supporting Vision 2030, and to the extent that we're also trying to raise awareness about mental health, something that has been historically not a taboo subject, but something that just there isn't a lot of awareness for in the market about getting people active, not necessarily in a club, but just trying to get people active, trying to release the potential of Saudi. So in order to achieve Vision 2030, right, a lot of things need to happen and across all sectors. And part of this is people being productive and happy and productivity is a big part of it. And one of the ways you can make people more productive is through fitness, health and fitness, right? So you have, not just work productivity, but also, people are not as sick, reduces the rate of illness and lifestyle disease and things like this. So it's all kind of interconnected, but long-winded answer. And to the question of, we see ourselves very tightly connected to this Vision 2030. And I think that's enabled us to deliver the business that we built over the last 5 years.
Yeah, and I think one final question. You talk a lot about how the club is built around the experience, and you really focus on the experience. We've seen, at least in the US, the role of the club change post-pandemic. So if you think about, and there's a lot of reasons for that. One, you have a more evolved consumer that is more in tune with their health and wellness, and maybe have a wearable on when they did not before. The role of the office has changed, where a lot of people are working remotely. So now they don't meet friends and mates and all that in the office. Now it goes to the club. But because your clubs are separate, it's not like a place where you're going to meet, your next mate, as an example, right? So how do you view the role of the club kind of evolving? Because you're one of the first to really put experience at the forefront, at least from the clubs that we've had a chance to see. You put experience first, right? So how do you kind of view what your role is into your members' wellness, life, and just journey?
I think in Saudi, the clubs have always been a place to gather and meet friends, and okay, maybe you're not meeting your mate as you would in other markets potentially, but that's not the way culturally things happen so much here. But fitness clubs have always been a place to gather and meet friends and catch up. But we still see that very much a part of what we do. We've integrated now co-working spaces into our clubs. So I think there is this opportunity, or this strategy that we have to make the clubs places that people want to spend time. We make it as welcoming as possible. People are busier than ever before. There's so much happening in the country right now that we'd still find people that are meeting in the club, catching up, seeing business acquaintances, doing business. So I think the personal interactions are happening just as they would in any other international club, but it's perhaps not on a personal relationship perspective, but it's in business and friendships and everything else. So.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Nathan. Appreciate your time today.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Guys.